Starting in the quizzes area of your course, you're going to click Create New Quiz. And then you're going to have the option here to create either a classic quiz or a new quiz. In this video, we're going to create a new quiz. If you always want to create a new quiz, you can always check this Remember My Choice for this course box as well, so it's not going to prompt you anymore. Once I click Submit, now I'm able to add my quiz name. So we've been working on, let's say, Unit 4, and this is the first quiz in Unit 4. For the point values, I'm going to create the point values, so I'll say maybe it's worth 10 points, but when I actually add questions to the quiz, it may only end up being 8 points. So I will need to go back into the quiz, edit it, and edit that point value. So for this quiz, I know that I'm only going to be making, let's say, 3 questions. So I'm going to make it a 3-point quiz. I'm going to keep all of this the same. It's actually not even going to let me change any of that. And I can add a due date here if I'd like. Since I haven't added any questions to this quiz yet, instead of clicking Save and Publish, I'm just going to click Save. Now that we're in our quiz builder, I'll give you a little tour. On the left-hand side here, you're going to have your question navigator, which is going to show all of your questions as well as your title and instruction, and you're able to click and drag and drop those questions to reorder them if you'd like. We're going to add questions here to the middle, and what I love about this quiz editor is that it makes it very easy to add questions and it's saving all the time. So I'm going to click Add Content, and I've got a couple different question types, and some of them are new. So in this video, we're just going to be discussing the options that are new in quizzes. So the first one is categorization. Keep in mind that categorization questions do not allow for partial credit yet, but we have heard that that's something that's coming down the road. So I can add a question title for this. And then I'll add my question stem. And then my categories. So in this one, I'm going to have a number category and a color category. And now that I'm building my question, I am going to actually build it like I would be building an answer key. So I have my 2 categories here, and then I'm just going to put the answers underneath those. I can add additional answers, however many I'd like. And then I go over to my second category and add those answers. If I'd like an additional category, I can add that at this time. And I can also add distractors. So let's say in addition to the colors, I'm also going to add some animals. Underneath that, I'm going to get some question options if I'd like to, as well as the ability to item bank. So I can create a brand new bank here, and that's going to allow me to create additional assessments with these questions later on. This is going to be a 1-point question, and I'll click Done. So now, both at the bottom and top of that question, I get the blue icon here, which means that I can add a question before or after it. Makes it much easier. If you've used quizzes in the past, normally we have update question, which is how it actually saves. New quizzes doesn't require that. It's going to save it automatically. As soon as I click off that question, it's saving it. So I'll click New Content, and I'm going to go to my next question type. The other new question that we have is Hotspot. Hotspot is an awesome question type. It allows you to upload a picture and then designate a spot on that picture for the correct answer. So for this question, I'm going to add my question stem. So I'm going to ask students to click on the state of Indiana, and I'm going to add a map here. So this is just something that I've downloaded. And then you can see I've got my map right here. So for this question, I can choose to do a square, which is going to be like a region like this. I can do an oval, Or I can do a polygon, which in this case is going to be the most appropriate. And a polygon is going to let me choose kind of the border of the state of Indiana. So all I'm doing here is I'm just clicking around the outside edge of Indiana. When I'm done, I'm just going to double click on the outside, and that blue space is where students would be able to click and get the correct answer. So they would get the full point value. If they click outside of that blue space, it's going to mark it as incorrect. Finally, the last question type that we're going to talk about is ordering. Again, for ordering, there's no partial credit currently available for these questions. So this is something to note as you're creating these assignments. So I'm adding my top and bottom labels first. And then again, just like before, I'm going to add my answer key. Notice that for this question, unlike categorization, we do get that full rich content editor. So we are able to add things like pictures, equations, tables, all that kind of stuff. So I can add a bunch of different things in here. I can even add, let's say, I'm going to add something with an exponent. So here's my first. And this one is out of order, so I'm going to actually drag this up to the top so I can reorder these as well if I need to. I can show, for this question, this is a math question, so I can show an on-screen calculator if I'd like to. If my answers are more than one line, I might want to display them as a paragraph. And then again, I get that item banking there. I'm going to click done. And now I've got my question. Again, this is going to be in order from least to greatest. The last item that I want to show you is not necessarily a question type, it's content, and that is called a stimulus. With a stimulus, you are able to add a title and any instructions as well as content, so something for the students to read, and then it's going to display the questions to the side of that stimulus. So for this one, I'll add my title, and then I'm going to add a reading passage. So I'm just going to copy and paste some text from a slideshow that I have. And so here's the text. I'll click Add Stimulus. And now I haven't aligned any questions to it yet. I'm going to go to my question navigator and I'm going to align questions there. So I'm going to take my first question and I'm going to drag it down below my stimulus. Same thing with my second question. It looks like my third question didn't quite make it there. And then my last question, again, I'm going to align with my stimulus. So I've got my stimulus as well as the questions to the side of it. Again, everything is being saved automatically. So let's see what this looks like for a student. Student is going to go to the quiz, and I'll just click preview in the top right hand corner, and this is what that will look like for the student. So you can see the stimulus is going to be over on the left hand side here, and then the questions will be on the right. So with each of these question types, I first had a categorization question. So students can just drag and drop those. They're going to be randomized automatically. If a student doesn't want to drag and drop, they can also click the dots here and choose the category that would go with this one. In this one, put the numbers in order from least to greatest. And then finally, identify the state of Indiana. And then I'll click Submit. Students are going to be able to get their grade right away, very similar to what they had before when we were using a traditional quiz. And you can see what my score was, as well as how long it took me for that attempt. With the category, or with the stimulus, with the hotspot question, students will see where the correct answer was and where their selected answer is. If it is outside the region, they would be able to see how far away it was. So a few quiz settings we'd like to review. In my settings area here, I'm able to shuffle the questions. This is a new feature, as well as the answers. I can also choose to show one question at a time, require an access code, add a time limit, allow a calculator, multiple attempts, and restrict the student result view. This would mean that the students wouldn't actually see their score or their results after the quiz. It might be something that I would release later. You are able to moderate these quizzes as well. This isn't a quiz that I have students that have taken it, but if I come to moderate here, I will see a student's name and I'm able to allow extra attempts in there. I can increase their time if I need to. I also have the ability to, if a student has submitted the quiz but they didn't finish, I can reopen the quiz that they submitted and they're able to go back into it and make changes if they need to, or finish the quiz. This would be helpful if a student gets pulled out in the middle of class. They're able to restart or continue their quiz if needed. You are able to migrate classic quizzes to the new quizzes. What you'll do is visit your old quizzes in your quiz or assignment area, and you'll have a button next to it, the 3 dots, that will allow you to migrate there. Finally, item banks are very similar to question banks. If you've used question banks in the past, we've put together a document that outlines how to migrate a question bank to an item bank. It's a fairly simple process. It's just not something that they have a migration tool for yet. If you are interested in this and you have any questions, feel free to contact our team. Thanks for watching this webinar. As always, if you have any questions, you can contact the Connected Learning team at clteam@tsc.k12.in.us.